Another Star Wars project is in really hot water, with this coming just following the announcement that Kevin Feige's Star Wars film has been officially scrapped, along with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. And thus, something else is indicated that we already knew. Lucasfilm is in major trouble right now when concerning the production of the next Star Wars film. From everything I've read, all the people working at Lucasfilm and the various creatives, they're in a lot of hot water as there is more pressure to release a Star Wars film as soon as possible, especially since the diminishing returns of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And while normally I'm a lore-based YouTube channel all around the Star Wars universe in-universe explanations, I think it's important that we cover the out-of-universe stuff as well. As at this point in time, I'm really itching for another Star Wars movie since The Rise of Skywalker came in late 2019. With that said, David Lindelof has officially exited writing the Star Wars film that was apparently going to be the next theatrical release Star Wars movie, which was slated for 2025, with an official announcement likely coming next month at Star Wars Celebration. However, in an interview a few days before his exit, David Lindelof explained why he may actually have decided to leave the project and was hinting at his departure early. In an interview with Film, he said this: "I will just say that for reasons that I can't get into on this Sunday morning, on this day, the degree of difficulty is extremely high. If it can't be great, it shouldn't exist. That's all I want to say, because I have the same association with it as you do, which is, this is the first movie I saw sitting in my dad's lap, 4 years old, in May of '77. And I think it's something that when you hold it in such high reverence and esteem, you start to get in the kitchen and just go, maybe I shouldn't be cooking. Maybe I should just be eating." We'll just leave it at that point. Now, there are a few lines here that I find really interesting, especially David Lindelof saying that for reasons that he can't get into on this day, speaking on the difficulty of making a Star Wars film in today's current Star Wars climate. So what exactly do I mean by that? Well, we know that the Star Wars film started off extremely strong, with The Force Awakens being one of the highest grossing films of all time, and Rogue One itself crossing $1 billion. While it's important to note that all of the sequels did eventually cross $1 billion, with every subsequent release they saw diminishing returns, meaning that Lucasfilm is tightening their grip around these projects because they desperately need a win. And there is a lot of pressure on the next Star Wars film. David Lindelof's Star Wars film got a lot of critiques from the fan base because of the time period in which it was set, with David Lindelof and leaks revealing that the film was going to be set approximately 5 to 6 years following the conclusion of The Rise of Skywalker, which many fans obviously had a large problem with, as not a lot of them are fans of how that trilogy concluded. At this point in time though, this leaves the film in a very important predicament, and Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, and the other executives are forced to make a major decision right now. They have to decide, with the departure of David Lindelof, do they move forward with the production of this Star Wars film into 2025, or do they delay it or scrap it entirely? It was heavily known that The Rise of Skywalker faced major problems because of the fact that they went into production without the story being completed. And we also knew after the fact that The Force Awakens had no endgame, meaning no endgame trilogy, when they finished that film. Instead, J.J. Abrams left story elements that Rian Johnson then took and ran with, and then J.J. Abrams tried to revert back. Because of course, they had no plan. And with this next Star Wars film, the same predicament is presented before themselves right now. Do they move forward without a concrete plan and without a concrete completed script in an effort to get a Star Wars film out as quickly as possible following the hiatus? Or do they take a step back and do not give an official release date next month for this next Star Wars film? Do they even move forward with this Star Wars film in general? Or is it too late? There is a ton of pressure over at Lucasfilm right now. Willow was just cancelled and they can't get a Star Wars project off the ground. Recently in an interview, Bob Iger said that one of his major priorities upon his return was to get the Star Wars franchise correct and back on track, with films again likely releasing every 1 to 2 years. However, if they do eventually decide to delay this, that would mean that Star Wars will have taken a near 7-year hiatus from the big screen, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in terms of getting a good product and a product that is completed. Or does Lucasfilm do what they did with the sequel trilogy and push out the next film in an attempt to maximize profits? As a major Star Wars nerd and a massive fan of film and this franchise in general, this is what I would do. I would take the time off to develop something brand new in a brand new era of time that we have not yet seen explored. One day, I do not see an ultimate flaw with returning to the era of the sequel trilogy movie, but that loss and those critiques are too fresh in the minds of Star Wars fans. And if we get to go to a brand new era in the same universe, I feel like with good characters and good writing, you can get the fan base back on board. But for the time being, this era in Star Wars specifically is a major point of controversy. With that said though, I do believe that there is some good news on the horizon. There have been reports that have indicated that there will be a changing of the guard following the release of Indiana Jones this year, and that potentially Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who are the creators of The Mandalorian and that great series, could potentially be given a much larger role at Lucasfilm and with the Star Wars franchise overall. And David Lindelof's departure could actually have to do with their grand plan. But again, unfortunately, this is just speculation. In conclusion, I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, and that is that this Star Wars franchise that we love is giving us a ton of whiplash. There are various films in various stages of development that have not been cancelled yet, but that very many of the creators are not speaking of, including Taika Waititi's Star Wars project, as well as Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy. And with the revelation that last month that Rogue Squadron was no longer a thing, nor was Kevin Feige's Star Wars project never a thing, this is yet another massive blow. All of that goes to say that Celebration this year is going to be exceptionally interesting. Will Lucasfilm go ahead and announce the next Star Wars film with a concrete release date? Do you guys think that they will stick to this era that they have dedicated themselves to? And what are your thoughts on the departure of Damon Lindelof from his Star Wars project? Star Wars is in a very uncertain time right now, but by no means do I believe it is dead. As always, my friends though, and fellow acolytes of the Force, leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and may the Force be with you.